Hello, Key West, and welcome to another show, the Key West Lou Legal Hour. Normally, I open and I say hello to people I know are watching the show, generally from all over the world. They watch it on the internet when they're beyond Boca Raton. I'm going to share today some of the people who communicated with me, email, Skype, etc., telephone, to say hello from different parts of the world. Excuse me. First, there's Sukeyong in South Korea. We have Jimmy Brown in Crete, Greece. Syros in Armagos, Greece. Miriam, Morocco. Anna, Novara. And now many others. All I know is yesterday was a wonderful day, or not yesterday. Yesterday was Christmas, the day before. Christmas Day was wonderful. I got these different messages from people. Rita in South Africa, my good friend Rita in South Africa. And they text me too. Rita texted me. And it's just wonderful from hearing from all these people all over the world who want to share their joy with me, and I in return want to share my joy of the holiday with them. I hope you people all enjoyed Christmas. If you did not, I feel bad, but there's always next year. I'm going to talk today about a lot of things. I'm going to start with this political stuff that's going on right now. Political correctness. They want us no longer to say Merry Christmas, but Happy Holiday. We don't want to offend, we're told. The immigrants are coming in, like the Muslims, and it's not their holiday. It might be offensive to Jewish people because Christmas they don't believe in. And I think this is all wrong what they're doing. But let me give you a perfect example of how it is wrong. The Veterans Hospital in Dallas, Texas. The 3rd and 4th grade from Grace Academy in Prosper, Texas. These are 3rd and 4th grade kids. Prepared Christmas cards, 51 Christmas cards, that they were going to take to the Veterans Hospital and personally distribute them to the patients, our boys and girls who were injured in the service of our country because they couldn't go home for Christmas. They would have no family and no one to share Christmas joy with. So these kids wanted to share their joy of Christmas with these people and make them happy. These are little kids. There's Gracie, a 4th grade girl. Here's what Gracie did. Gracie's card simply said, and I quote, "Merry Christmas. Thank you for your service." Merry Christmas, thank you for your service. What could be offensive about that? And she also put in the envelope a little American flag. None of these cards made it to the VA hospital. The administrator said, "We can't accept them. It violates Veteran Administration policy." There is a handbook. It's called the Veterans Health Administration Handbook. Now, Veterans Health Administration, I'm smiling because the VA is an agency of the United States government. And in there it says, no Merry Christmas, no, quote, Merry Christmas, unquote, and no, quote, God bless America, unquote, can be received or hung on the walls in any fashion in a veterans hospital. I think that's stupid. I think that's wrong. I think that's an extension of political correctness beyond what we want. Not only is it a step too much, a bridge too much, it's too far, period. This is like a new low. How can you censor what the kids do when they prepare a Christmas card saying Merry Christmas or God bless you? It's sort of shameful. I can't say that the VA administrator did wrong because these are the guidelines or the rules of an agency of the United States government. All I want to say is this. Political correctness has gone too far in this country. Merry Christmas should be. I'm a Catholic. I want to say Merry Christmas. I want to share the joy of my holiday with everyone. And when my Jewish friends say to me, Happy Hanukkah, sometimes I say Happy Hanukkah to them when I know we're into the holidays. It doesn't bother me because they are sharing the joy of their holiday with me. And I have Muslim friends during Ramadan when they say to me, Happy Ramadan, I'm not offended. Even though I don't believe in Muhammad, I'm not offended. I spoke Christmas Day to my Moroccan friend Miriam. She was in Italy visiting. She Skyped me, wished me a Merry Christmas. I got into this with her. I said, I'm saying Merry Christmas to you. You don't believe in Christ. She says, no. I says, are you offended? Why? She says, your holiday, not mine. She asked me, do you get offended when I Skype you and say Happy Ramadan? I says, no. Do you see the foolishness of all this? There is a small minority, I believe, in this country, a very, very small minority, that seems to want to make everything correct from their perspective, not everyone else's. And this is what happens. So these 3rd and 4th grade kids down in the Dallas, Texas area who are trying to do good, and all of a sudden they're told, you can't do it because it says Merry Christmas, or it might say God bless you. The United States government is wrong for having permitted such language to be prohibited and to make it part of the administration's handbook for veterans hospitals, period. We are losing our rights in this country rapidly. I don't have to tell you. We now have the National Security Agency, thanks to Edward Snowden, we now know they're bugging our telephones and our cell phones and our emails. Nothing is sacred, nothing is secret. They're bugging the heads of states of other countries. You're stopped for speeding. The police, and if you're stopped for speeding, any minor traffic violation, and the officer sees a cell phone in the car, he can take that cell phone and go through everything on that cell phone to see if there's anything on there that might suggest or indicate that a crime has been committed. As simple as texting while you were driving. And he does not need a search warrant. This is the terrible thing. Whoops, my phone, I'm sorry. And he does not need, I apologize. Okay, we're in business now. He does not need a search warrant. What I am saying to you, there's a court case that says this is okay. It doesn't violate the constitutional rights of the person who might have run a stop sign, rode through it, or was speeding. The information on the cell phone can be used to convict them of another crime. It is not an illegal search and seizure. The judge says, under those circumstances, people do not have a right to the protection of the Fourth Amendment, which prohibits illegal searches and seizures. There is no high court decision on this yet. It's a question that's worthy of the United States Supreme Court. Simple things rise to the level of the Supreme Court. This is a simple thing, but I believe, again, this is one of those things that goes a step too far. Take my cell phone, look at it, see if I did anything wrong. I just don't understand. You can't do these things. I've never heard of, I'm a retired lawyer. These things are terrible. And we seem to be taking it. We don't fight back enough. I'm talking through the system, through the courts and everything. We don't fight back enough. I think it's horrendous that we let them bug our telephones, we let them bug our emails. Now they can take my cell phone out of my car if I'm stopped. It's wrong. We're reaching the point when we are not going to have any rights, where our rights that were sacred to us, privacy and everything else, are going to be gone. And there's nothing we can do about it. And I don't want to hear that, oh, well, we're protecting you from another or against another 9/11. I don't buy it. You have to balance this, and I think they've gone the other way. I believe what's really happened in this country, the people in the National Security Agency, and I smile when I say this, as time has developed under Obama the last 6 years, science and the cell phone and computers, all the stuff has become more developed to an extremely high level, and all of a sudden the NSA said, oh boy, we've got a new toy. We can bug everybody all over the world, their emails, their telephone calls, and they went ahead and did it. No one gave any consideration that this might be wrong under the Constitution. And this is all being tested right now. Within a year or two, we're going to know whether this is good or bad, and I suspect it's not going to fly with the Supreme Court when it reaches there. You just can't do things in a blanket fashion. We can't have all these rights taken away from us. There is a balance in society, and I believe that's the way it is going to work out. Now we're going to break. When I come back, I have an interesting story to tell you again about security. Stay with me, my friends. Louis Patrone back with the Key West Lou Legal Hour. Thank you again for joining me this morning. I've already talked about the National Security Agency, and I want to talk about them a little bit more. We know they are into us. They are into our lives. They're about every place but under our beds, okay? They're not in our bedroom yet, but they're going to get there, okay? Because they're every place else. The telephones, the emails, and so forth. I don't have to go through it again. Not happy with all the information they have, they've gone a step farther, the NSA. There are some companies that their specialty, their product, is to prepare security devices so that a computer, an app, a site, a program, a computer program cannot be invaded. No one can get in except the person who's using it, who bought it, okay, and is using this protection. The company's name, one of the companies, is called RSA. I don't know what RSA means. I tried to look it up, but there's so many RSA companies. But one of these RSA companies out there, their prime function is to manufacture safety devices so nobody knows who you're writing to, what you're doing on your computer, and so forth, the way it should be. Well, it turns out this week we find out that the NSA paid, there's a written contract, paid RSA $10 million, and RSA told them how to, in effect, hack those security sites. There is a back door to all these sites. When they're manufactured by RSA, there is a back door that you can get into. And the RSA has sold to the NSA the back door on some of these programs. So when people think, when I do this or I do that, for example, a guy likes to look at porn. Nobody knows it, okay, because it's secure. Even the NSA, but it isn't secure. Nothing is secure. We are giving, and we continue to give, our rights away. I think we all agree that Congress sucks. Maybe 80%, 85% of the people in this country. This has been one of the worst Congresses I have seen in my adult life. Now, politics is business. It has become big business today. Money is always being raised. Big business, for example, contributes money to congressmen, senators, hopefully so they may be swayed to be favorable to them and will vote their way on legislation affecting their business. To a certain degree and to a large degree, records are kept on this money by law, okay? Money already raised from lobbyists and so forth for the years 2013 and 2014. Now note, I'm giving you 2 years, 2013, 2014. 2014 hasn't occurred yet. So basically this is money for 1 year, 2013. Here's how much has been raised or contributed to politicians and parties. The Democrats, in general, have received $289 million. You know, Democratic congressmen, senators. Republicans, less, $152 million, because they're not in power, in effect. The total, though, of this lobbying money to influence our legislators is $441 million. Now, I was surprised at what I'm going to share with you now. Who do you think the biggest section of society is that tries to influence our federal legislators? It's the retirement organizations, people that protect me. I'm a senior citizen. I'm an old man. I'm 78 years old. And in general, AARP and everybody else that does what they do spend the most money to influence legislation favorable to our senior citizens. Having become aware of this, I'm going to tell you something. If they permit a penny to be given up on Social Security or Medicare, I'm going to be very upset because they're spending all this money to influence. Let's influence them a little bit. Let's be as good as a General Electric, for example. Now, let me give you specific organizations and how much they have contributed thus far, and this really for 1 year, 2013. The United States Chamber of Commerce, which represents all businesses, and if you recall, in the last presidential election, came out publicly against the president and spent a lot of money for advertising for various political candidates, contributed $51 million. They're the biggest contributor, $51 million. Then comes Blue Cross Blue Shield, American Hospital Association. These are medical groups so far. Then in sneaks General Electric. I don't know how they got there. Then there's a pharmacy, a drug association, and the American Medical Association. So out of the 7 top organizations contributing, trying to buy votes with our congressmen and our senators, 5 are in the medical field. Medicine is big business. If you didn't know what I'm telling you, it has become extremely big business. That's why we need an Obamacare. That's why we have to control the cost of medicine in this country, whether it be by way of doctor fees, hospital fees, or drug fees. I think the pharmaceuticals are out of sight. I'm not impressed with Obamacare, what it does with drugs. It's going to take till 2020 to get rid of that donut. And anyone who's a senior citizen understands the donut and the problem it causes. Let's talk about individuals who got the money. I've talked about people who spent the money. John Boehner, Speaker of the House, and he's the leader of the Republicans. He's received already from these various groups, plus some other groups I haven't mentioned, $9 million in 1 year to help him for re-election purposes, obviously. They can't use this money for themselves. They're not supposed to. You assume they're using it for a campaign. Then there's a Democratic congressman by the name of Frank Pallone in New Jersey, who's the second biggest receiver of these lobbying dollars. I don't know why he got it. He's got $3 million already. But Boehner, $9 million. Now we go to the Senate. Cory Booker just became a United States Senator. He just ran to fill a seat. He just became a United States Senator. He's already received this year $12 million. $12 million. That was probably to help with his election. But this is the kind of money that's going into these jobs. And then Mitch McConnell, our hero on the Republican side in the Senate, the minority leader, he's got to run in Kentucky next year, and there's a question he's going to have a primary, they suspect, because the Tea Party people don't think he's done good for them. I think he's done terrific for them. Be that as it may, he's already raised $17 million to help with his re-election campaign, and he got it from all these companies I've been describing to you. It's not healthy. It's not healthy that business money, medicine money, even retirement organizations throw their money into these candidates. I think we should have our elections, like our presidential election, only for 2 months, no advertising beforehand, no running around making speeches beforehand, and lock it all in for 2 months, get it done, and the government pay the bill. The government pay the bill. This would eliminate outside influences in presidential elections. And I believe congressmen and senators should have some type similar program. It's an absolute disgrace that all this money is being spent to influence people who are supposed to represent you and me, and not the American Medical Association, not the United States Chamber of Commerce, not the AARP. I spoke several weeks ago about genetically modified seeds, and I've spoken about the fact that in the United States today, there are 6 major corporations, mega corporations, that graze most of the food that we eat, that we buy in the Publix, the Winn-Dixie, the supermarkets of this country. 99% of it comes from these mega farms that corporate America owns. Now, they're farming, in many instances, with these genetically modified seeds. They do something to the seeds. I don't understand how, but the end result is a bigger strawberry, a beautiful apple, nice and shiny, a lovely pear, great bananas, and this affects fruits, vegetables, potatoes. I've never seen them so big. I bought some apples more than 2 months ago. I said, I got to find out how good these apples are. They were beautiful, big and red. I took one and put it in the fruit chest in the refrigerator. It is still there more than 2 months later. It should be rotting by this time. It should have brown spots. It should be soft. That thing is as solid as the Rock of Gibraltar, and it still shines. Make a long story short, in every country in the world except the United States, wherever there are genetically modified foods, it must say so on the label when you buy it. Only the United States doesn't have that on the label. All right? Now the issue is coming up, and it's coming up in some of the states right now. Several states have passed laws saying if you got genetically modified foods, you must say it on the label. When I return, I'm going to tell you what these 6 major corporations are doing to protect their position. So stay with me, my friends. Welcome back to the Key West Lou Legal Hour. I am Louis Petrone, your host. When we went to break, I was talking about genetically modified foods. Normally it's the seed that's modified. It's chemicals are in it somehow. Don't ask me how. I'm not a chemist. I'm not a scientist. But these seeds grow bigger and better fruits and vegetables, make our chickens and our cows, our beef cows, fatter, makes the meat red, makes the apple shine, potatoes are large. I took a potato. I told you about my apple experience. That same day, I took one of these nice big potatoes that look beautiful. They don't even have dirt on the outside like they used to. You don't have to wash them. And I cut it in half. And I covered, and I put it in a plastic bag, each half, and put them in the fruit bin or vegetable bin in the refrigerator. This week, more than 2 months later, I took one of the halves of the potato out. Should have been rotten by this time. It's almost 10 weeks it's been in there. And except for discoloration at the open end where the meat of the potato showed, nothing wrong. I cut off a thin slice, I put it in the micro, and I ate that potato 10 weeks after I bought it. Still delicious. No marks inside on the potato itself. Absolutely wonderful. Something's wrong. Food never grew like this before. Maybe it's better, maybe it isn't. I don't know. But this is being done by the corporations, the mega corporations, the 6 big corporations that own the food farms. The farms where food that we eat is being produced today. Now, some states, because the rest of the world, if you have genetically modified foods, you must say it on the label. Only in the United States is there no law to this, okay, to this particular point. It's silent. Some states, though, have required that people must be told on the labeling, genetically modified. Because there are some people who fear, and they may be right, they may be wrong, this is going to be injurious to their health down the road. We still don't know what the ramifications are going to be. So, what, and there's going to be more states trying to do it. What do these 6 big companies do? Here's the move. I love this because the best offensive is a good, the best defense rather is a good offense. These big companies that own these farms are now out there before the state legislatures and even the federal government promoting and pushing that there be legislation prohibiting, saying if you've got genetically modified foods in genetically modified seeds were used to develop your foods, you must say on the label natural. If you got genetically modified foods, you must say natural. You don't have to say genetically modified. So they're smart. They're getting out there before the people who want this information on the label, and they're saying, look, we're okay with labeling, but let's label it natural as opposed to genetically modified. And do you want to know something? I think they're going to succeed to a large extent. And why? Because of all that money I told you about in the last segment that is being spent by lobbying groups on our congressmen and senators and on our state legislators. They are going to be influenced. It's human nature. And they're going to beat us. And this is wrong. This is wrong because we still don't know the final outcome, the final ramifications of eating these foods. Now, one of the good things about this is we know we're facing a world where many parts are in starvation and will continue to be in starvation, and we're going to have too many people living on this planet, so there will be not enough food, there will be more people starving. And I've read articles where it said this type of growing of food, this way with the genetically modified seeds, will make sure we don't have starvation down the road, everyone gets fed. I don't know what's right or wrong, but I don't think putting natural on the label if it's genetically modified is the right thing to do. I'm going to talk about Saudi Arabia. What I'm going to share with you is most interesting. Saudi Arabia has always bothered me. I've talked about Saudi Arabia for 7 years. Internet show, TV show. I've written about it in my blog, in my column, in Conch Life. They've always bothered me. And here's the reason. On 9/11, of the 19 people that were flying those planes that went into the World Trade Center, went into the Pentagon, into a field in Pennsylvania, 17 of the 19 were Saudi Arabians. They were citizens of Saudi Arabia. Not Iraq that we went to war with soon after. Saudi Arabia. Now, no one made a big deal out of this, and I could not understand till this day, why doesn't anybody get into this? Is it because we're getting all this oil from them and we don't want to screw that up? But that isn't right either if that's the case. And then you got to remember, Saudi Arabia, every government, Republican or Democrat, has said, is our friend. We get oil from them. They've been great friends the last 10 years, haven't they? As the price of a gallon of gasoline has gone up and up and up, our friends took good care of us. Here's what's happening. Congress made an investigation of 9/11 soon after 9/11 occurred. The report that was prepared is classified. That means that no one can read it except those who have high security clearance in Washington. It's what? It's 12 years since 9/11. We still don't know what's in that report. Senator Bob Graham from Florida at the time said, what's in there is startling. The American public should be aware of it. It's interesting. We have to know. Nothing happened. The report spells out the financial and logistical support which those 19 people flying the planes received, okay? And the word is that Saudi Arabia is implicated big time. There is, as one congressman who read it but can't divulge it because he's bound with secrecy, incontrovertible evidence that Saudi Arabia was involved. To this extent, that the Saudi Arabian embassy in Washington, D.C., and the Saudi Arabian consulate in Los Angeles on the very day of 9/11 were in communication with the airplanes. I don't know if it's true. Only can find out. A couple of congressmen said it was. Other people have. We're only going to know if the President of the United States declassifies this congressional report and lets us see it. Because, you know, we've said this is a terrible situation we have. It was an act of terrorism. And since there's no country involved, we don't know who it is. It makes fighting, retaliating even harder. So it's terrorism. It's really not war. Well, you only have war where you have another country who did something wrong. And if Saudi Arabia does have any degree of appreciable responsibility for 9/11, they're another country. That's an act of war by them upon us. There's also, this is the leaks. I don't know if it's true or not. I've never read it. I'm not supposed to read it, nor are you, but these are leaks that have come out in the press. There was a house in Sarasota, Florida, with people from Saudi Arabia in it, and they were involved in the attack on 9/11. What bothers me the most is that the United States media has not gotten involved in this issue. I spoke 2 weeks ago about the Iceland situation where the United States media was quiet about the revolution in Iceland that brought down the government, got a new constitution, and put bankers and politicians in jail for screwing up the economy. In the 12 years rather, since 9/11, there have only been 13 stories on TV and the newspapers concerning this declassified congressional report. Now, it's up to the president to declassify it. I can tell you now President Obama is not. He hasn't declassified anything, and I doubt he will here. I just wonder why we don't want to know more about Saudi Arabia in this regard, why there isn't transparency, and why this is not an open book. It should be. We are going to break. When I return, I'm going to talk to you further about Saudi Arabia and a lawsuit that is pending now against them. Stay with me, my friends. Louis Petrone back with another segment of the Key West Lou Legal Hour. I thank you again for joining me. I love doing this show, and I am very appreciative that you like it enough to continue listening and watching it. As I've reported on occasion, based upon some statistical reports I got, I believe this on the internet is being viewed in 68 countries. Doesn't mean every week I got 20 million people, but I got at least one person in 68 different countries watching this show. Absolutely amazing. Or listening to it. Now, we're going to stay with Saudi Arabia for a moment. Again, many people after 9/11 were of the opinion that Saudi Arabia was involved in 9/11 because 17 of the 19 people flying those planes were from Saudi Arabia. There have been lawsuits by the families of the 3,000 people who died, lawsuits by the people who were injured but didn't die, okay? And these lawsuits have been pending for 12 years and are not resolved yet, okay? Saudi Arabia was sued in most of the lawsuits. In 2005, there was a federal court decision that said you cannot sue Saudi Arabia. It has the protection of what is called sovereign immunity. You cannot sue another nation. There's an exception, terrorism, but they didn't feel it applied to court. This past week, a decision came down from the Second Circuit. This is the Federal Appeals Court, the last court before the United States Supreme Court in New York City, and they said that decision was wrong. Sovereign immunity under the circumstances does not apply to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia can be sued, so all these people now are amending their papers to name Saudi Arabia, and maybe we're going to get some clarification. We're going to get a look at what we haven't seen or known or heard before. What bothers me is this. In 2005, when the case was dismissed against Saudi Arabia, and now when there's going to be, the government put papers on this, the United States government opposing Saudi Arabia being sued. Our government has said 2005 and now Saudi Arabia should not be sued. They have the benefit of sovereign immunity. I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong that my government and your government, on such a sensitive issue, tries to influence the decision of federal courts with regard to the issue of sovereign immunity. And I believe, if I recall correctly, this past week, some agency of the government said they're going to continue opposing this ruling on appeal. The world has changed. We are in constant flux. I have never seen so many things happen. I'm 78 years old. I am just awed, overwhelmed by the changes that have occurred in my lifetime. My father died last year at the age of 98, and we used to talk because he saw more than I did. for 21 years. He was 21 years older than me at the time. And I used to talk to him about, my God, there weren't cars, now there are cars. They really had few cars. You've seen the development of cars, flying, computers. He was in greater awe than I am. But I think anyone my age, you have to be in awe at what has transgressed or happened, occurred. Let's talk about homosexuality. After World War II and into the 1950s, it was against the law in England to be a homosexual. To participate, not to be, I'm sorry, to participate in homosexual activity. So let's talk about Alan Turing, T-U-R-I-N-G, a British citizen. Alan was a British citizen. Turns out he was a computer science genius. He has been labeled, no BS, he has been labeled the father of computer science. During World War II, he broke the German code. Germany never found out he had broken the code, okay? Which saved thousands of lives, thousands of Allied lives, because this man broke the code. This was a big thing. Hitler did not believe that his code, the machinery that operated it, could ever be broken. Alan Turing is given the credit for this everywhere you read. And he was given credit at the time. He was a homosexual. He was engaged in homosexual activity. He was arrested. And he was given a choice. The sentence was very simple. You either go to jail, because it's against the law to participate in homosexual activity, or you submit to chemical castration. You either go to jail, or you submit to chemical castration. He opted for chemical castration. Why, I don't know. Maybe he just didn't want to go to jail. This was, I think, in 1952. He committed suicide 2 years later. He committed suicide 2 years after he was castrated chemically. He was at the age of 41 at the time he committed suicide. It is suspected, though not sure, that he ate an apple laced with cyanide, because next to his body was found a half-eaten apple. There was cyanide in his room or his quarters because he dealt with chemicals. No one ever tested the apple remains, but it's assumed he ate an apple with cyanide in it. So let me tell you how big this guy is. You look up his background. There are buildings named after him all over the world at universities. He's received so many awards since he died. He has been recognized as the father of this and the father of that with computers, in spite of his homosexuality, in spite of having been convicted, in spite of having submitted to chemical castration. This guy is a walking hero. Well, now it's 59 years later since he committed suicide. And this past week, England did the right thing. And when I say, time changes things, homosexuality bad 60 years ago, today accepted. He received a royal pardon from Queen Elizabeth this past week, which means all charges were withdrawn. And he never was convicted because he was never charged with homosexual conduct. A lot of good it does Alan Turing, but it's good for his record, for his voice. What makes it even better is that the British government finally realizes the wrongness, the absurdity of their decision to have a statute making it illegal and to pursue this great man into the grave from my perspective. Alan Turing. I've talked about transgenders before on this show. I've written about transgenders. We are moving towards a third sex in this country, perhaps worldwide. There are males and there are females. We are going to have transgenders next. I would say within 20 years, maybe less, maybe only 10, because remember, when homosexuality, gay marriage, same-sex marriage was in vogue, it moved within 10 years. This could move within 10 years. Transgenders are people who are one sex but believe they're another. It's a man, born a man, has all the organs of a man, but inside, mentally, psychologically, he's a girl. Or it's a woman, born a woman, has breasts, no penis, a vagina, but she thinks she's a man, she's male. And these are for real people. And these people, this isn't made up sex, kinky stuff, this is for real. And these people suffer because they're not living as they want to. A man, he wants to be a woman, she wants to be a man. They're not doing what they want to do, and they're frustrated over it, and it bothers them. Now, recognize, I think the numbers I last read were that 3% of the population in this country is transgender. Could be more. So here's what's happening. Things are changing. The New Jersey Senate, and this is why I'm talking about, the New Jersey Senate recently passed a transgender bill to give them certain rights, which I'm going to get into shortly. Nothing's happened yet, just the Senate did it. The legislature hasn't moved on it. The governor hasn't spoken. I can't believe Governor Christie would sign a transgender bill because as much as I like him, he is a conservative. New York made the change several years ago. Under New York's Employment Non-Discrimination Act, you can't discriminate against transgenders in employment in New York for several years now. But California is the big state. I've spoken about California on this issue in recent months. Big state. Governor Brown is doing great things out there, and he got legislation passed that goes into effect on January 1. Next week, my friends. It's been passed for several months, but it goes into effect on January 1st next week. And it covers students in public schools in California from kindergarten to 12th grade. We're going to break. When I come back, I'll tell you more about this. You may agree or disagree. We'll see. Stay with me. Before I get into the nitty-gritty of California and transgenderism, I wish to remind you, I wrote a book. It was published about a month ago, my first book. I titled it The World Upside Down. The World Upside Down. You can buy it as an ebook, or you can buy it as a softcover paperback. I recommend it to you. I'd like to see how the book turns out, if people like it, if my efforts were worthy. It's available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com, The World Upside Down. Take a look at it, please. Okay, I was talking about transgenderism. Boy thinks he's a girl thinks she's a boy. Man and women also. In California, Brown recognized the problem. It's a big problem in California. There must be, I don't know if there's an unusually large amount of transgenders, but it is a problem. Governor Brown, the legislature of California recognized it, passed the law, goes into effect January 1 next week, that in all public schools from kindergarten to 12th grade, that covers high school, grammar school and high school, public high schools, these laws apply. A student may select the bathroom of his or her choice. So if a male student feels he's a female, he can use the female bathroom, and vice versa. Locker rooms, for sports activities, a female student who believes she is male can use the male locker room, and vice versa. How sports are going to work out, no one's sure yet. In other words, if you have a female and she wants to play on the football team, which has always been male, how that's going to work, we don't know yet. Then there's the issue of how they dress. Is a male, someone who looks physically as a male, the form is male, who really thinks he's a girl, going to be permitted to come to school in a dress? These may sound like weird things, but this is what's happening because we have a group of people who have something missing or different in their minds. They believe they are not the sex they were born into. And it kills them to live as a male when they think they're female, for example. So it got passed. The people know it's coming. And California is a good state for everything because they passed these laws and then they have what they call, remember Proposition 8 on same-sex marriage? Ended up going to the United States Supreme Court. Well, people who are opposed to this transgender law are collecting signatures to have a Proposition 8 type on the ballot in the next election to see if the people really want this. They need so many signatures. The cutoff date for the signatures is January 8th. We shall see. What happens between January 1 and January 8th, I don't know. I would assume Brown will just let this thing go into effect, but we don't know. But it's happening in California, and it's an issue that is going to spread across the country. Obviously, it's been here and recognized. New York took care of it several years ago with regard to employment. Let's talk about England for a moment. I spoke a couple of weeks or 2 weeks ago that England is in terrible shape financially, worse than we are. People are out of work, don't have money for groceries, don't have money for clothes. And a new industry has developed. And what is it called? Necessity is the mother of invention. In England today, there are second-hand clothing stores that rent clothes. They rent clothes. You want a sharp piece of, a woman wants jeans that are really sharp and in style, would cost her 120 euro or pounds. She can pay £5 a month and rent them and buy them at the end of a year if she wants at a very discounted price. That's a new business. It shows, though, people can't afford to buy clothes. I was speaking, Key West is a great place. People come from all over the world. I have a doctor friend from Leeds, England, who was here for the holiday. I was at a Christmas party with him recently, and he said we were talking about these things. What he recognizes in England is an increase in food banks. He says all of a sudden there are more and more food banks, and that's because there's not enough food for people to eat. The people don't have the money to buy. If they don't, then the farmers don't have the money to grow because they can't sell. It's a bad situation. And he said what he recognizes with the issue of a lack of money, an economic issue, is the increase in the food banks. Standard & Poor's, credit agency, they say whether you got good credit or bad credit. You will recall that 2 years ago, Standard & Poor and most of the other credit agencies demoted the United States from AAA to AA to BB plus. We got pushed down. It was an insult. Plus it cost the government more money, more interest, higher interest rates to borrow. Well, the European Union's been flying high. They're the ones that operate the euros, and they're the ones, with Germany behind them strongly, I've got to say it this way, have taken care of Turkey, Greece, Italy, Spain, Portugal, have put these people behind the 8 ball financially. Well, what do you think happened this past week? Standard & Poor's said we are downgrading the Euro Union. And why? They downgraded them from AAA to AA. And why? Because with all these countries suffering, it's questionable whether the European Union is going to collect all the monies back that they are owed. Or there's also the possibility there may be unrest and a war and they won't get paid back. So they've downgraded them only to a AA. They could downgrade them more along the way. We shall see. They deserve it if it happens to them. I've got to say it because what the Euro Union and Germany with them have done to the people of these different countries, I've seen it firsthand in Greece. I've seen it in Italy. I have a group of friends in both of these countries, is absolutely wrong. Okay, now we're going to go. It's going to be the end of the show very, very shortly. 10 seconds. I wish you a very happy New Year. Don't drink too much. Drive safely. Go to a home party. I'm going to be at a home party. But enjoy yourself. Welcome in the new year. I will see you next week. Thank you.